Or you can play. This is Speaker Robin Voss. Go ahead, it's about a 26-second video.
When people talk about certain things, they're undermining our credibility. As an example, in the state of Wisconsin, the voting machines do not connect to the internet.
Oh,
come on.
They do.
They do.
Okay?
Yeah. Absolutely.
They do not. Okay? You can believe it if you want to.
Do they have a Wi-Fi?
They have a Wi-Fi.
They don't have Wi-Fi. They do not have Wi-Fi.
Do they have USB? What about Mike?
No.
Okay. Now, you have to realize by now, I'm the last person in the nation they should have given that video to. So, if you go to the next one, please. Here is the sworn testimony that I took of Outagamie County Clerk Jeff King. And if you look in the yellow, I would like to re-ask the question, please. Does your EMS, which is the computer server of ES&S voting systems at the Outagamie County office, does your EMS server connect to the internet on election days? And I said, it's a yes or no question. Jeff King answers, our system allows for the transmission of results from tabulators to the county system via private virtual network, yes. Took me 5 pages of questions to get to that. That's the county clerk of Wisconsin, Outagamie County. Now, shortly after I took his deposition, and this could have been pre-planned, he resigned and he moved to a different job outside of the county. So the new clerk comes in, Kelly Gerardis, and I say, you're saying it connects to the internet. What time of day would this be? Is it on election day? She says, yes. It's the end of the night when they make the transmission. It would connect to send the results to the virtual private network. And these transcripts go sometimes for 100 pages. She admitted multiple times they connect to the internet. Robin Voss, probably the #1 the state politician in Wisconsin, because he's the Speaker of the Assembly, doesn't know or he was lying. One of the two. Now let's go to the next one. These are all under sworn oath, by the way, penalty of perjury before a court of law. This is employee Jill Manglis of Verizon. Right? I took her sworn deposition. I asked, well, at the municipality level from the tabulator's modem, again, what is it connecting to? Is it cellular or internet? She says it's cellular. I said, okay. And then she says, it's cellular internet. I said, okay. And then somewhere in the process, it gets onto the internet, correct? Her answer, that modem is the internet itself. So it's powered by Verizon. It itself is the internet source. So stop telling me that our machines aren't connected to the internet. And I have a lot more than this. These are under 3 people under sworn oath, including the vendor who conducts the transmission and has the contract with the state of Wisconsin. I took the sworn deposition of Robert Kehoe, the Deputy Administrator of the Wisconsin Election Commission. And look what he says here in the email, in which I introduced as evidence. We caution that publicly disclosing the EMS, which again is the computer server at the county, IP address. IP stands for Internet Protocol. Address increases the risk that the address will be subject to cyber attacks. Why would you be concerned about cyber attacks when you're not connected to the internet? He sent this email to, at the time, I think 24 county clerks, because those 24 county clerks, and I can name them all, are connected to the internet. That's why he sent that email. So let's take a look at his sworn testimony. of Robert Kehoe, the deputy administrator. Said, does WEC perform cybersecurity testing on new voting systems seeking certification? And his attorney objects. And if you see line number 17, Kehoe's answer is no. Nobody does any cybersecurity testing on our voting systems at all in the state of Wisconsin. Nobody.
Isn't that law? Don't you
Nobody. Yes, it is law. And he's saying is, do you know who that is, please? I asked him, does anybody perform the testing? He says, I know the federal government contracts for providers to provide certification testing of a voting equipment. The federal EAC has two contractors, Weiss and SL&L or SV&L, I forget the name, and they don't test because the federal EAC does not permit connecting to the internet. They do not permit or approve or certify modems, routers either. So he's either misleading or he's outright lying about it, because he should know this, is that the federal EAC does not permit connecting to the internet. They don't even permit connecting cellular or Wi-Fi. They never have. So here we have, when a company applies for certification from the state of Wisconsin, this is a 68-page memo, or 57-page memo, written up by Megan Wolf. So their employees will look over the machine, and what they do is they'll take the ES&S voting machine, they'll put a couple of tabulators in some county, this will happen to be like Rock County, to do the test, and then Jefferson County to do another test. So they have the tabulators, their modems, then they have the computer server, the EMS at the county. They push the button, they feed some ballots through, they push the button and transmit, say 10 votes from the ballots. If it goes through, boom, certified. It's functional testing. It's like flipping a light switch on. If the light comes on, you passed. And Robert Kehoe's testimony shows that you just saw, shows that's exactly what's happening. Nobody is testing anything on cybersecurity. They have no clue what they're doing. They don't even do it. So here we go, modem, wireless, wireless, wireless. Firewall. Why do you need a firewall if you're not connected to the internet? And here we come to the crown jewel. Cradle point routers. Anyone watching this in other states, I encourage you to do public records requests to your county clerks for purchase orders, for contracts with a cradle point router. I'm going to disclose to you right now one of the biggest frauds in our elections you've ever heard of. When this county, this one happens to be Outagamie County, but I have them for 15 other counties in Wisconsin, including Marathon, by the way, which I'm going to show you. They bought the main system from ES&S voting systems out of Omaha, Nebraska. They spent something like $400,000 because they buy the whole thing for the municipalities. The tabulators, the EMS, the software, the license fee, all the devices. It's all listed out in the contract, which I have. All right. Along comes, about, I think on this one, 4 months later, the Cradle Point router invoice. Now, how can you buy a $400,000 system that does connect to the internet, but you don't have a router? What I found out through discovery in my court case that's still open against the county clerk of Outagamie County, when ES&S submitted their application to the Wisconsin Election Commission, they did not include the Cradle Point router. WEC, the Wisconsin Election Commission, tested a system, they certified it without the Cradle Point router. So many months pass, and this happened in every county I got the documents for, including Dane County, Marathon County, Wood County, La Crosse County, Milwaukee County. Along comes a separate invoice for the Cradle Point router. Right there it is, under miscellaneous components. Along comes the Cradle Point router. I will submit to you, it was not on the application that the voting machine company submitted to WEC, the Wisconsin Election Commission, for certification. Meaning, the Cradle Point router was never certified by the Wisconsin Election Commission. Meaning, every single election we've had in our state for years has been conducted on non-certified equipment.
So they should be null and void.
It should be null and void, all of them. They did this deliberately.
Yeah.
Because you look at the timing of the pattern, you look at the omission of the Cradle Point router from the Wisconsin Election Commission. They never certified it. You want to go to the next one, please? Here's Marathon County, right down the road. A good friend here, Randy Block, his old college buddy of mine, he showed up today, he lives over by Wausau. And you can go up a little bit, please. There you go, Cradle Point router. Marathon County. Marathon County elections are not certified. They're null and void, in my opinion. They don't follow state law. And remember, in Wisconsin, it's in chapter, what is it, 7.91, I believe, I believe that's the statute, that Wisconsin is responsible on its own to certify the voting equipment. We don't rely on the federal EAC. So it's especially important that Wisconsin certifies their voting equipment. And they left out the Cradle Point router. And I'm going to show you why. And there's a Cradle Point router for Wood County. And I mentioned, I think I have 15, maybe 16 of these, same pattern, over and over and over. The county buys the big main system for $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, depending on the county size. A couple months later, along comes the Cradle Point router. Separate invoice, almost always. They never certified the Cradle Point router. This is why they didn't certify the Cradle Point router. This is the federal bill of lading that I obtained from the federal government. I have 400 pages of the report along with the listing of the bill of ladings. If you look in the yellow side to the right, those are all Cradle Point routers. Those are the model numbers, and those are the routers coming over from Taiwan to the United States. Now here's the catch. They're not coming from Taiwan. They're coming from China. It's in a plant about an hour outside of Beijing. They shipped them to Taiwan. They changed the labeling and the packaging, and then they put them on a U.S. flagged ship, which has to be, per federal law, when it's critical infrastructure. That's what they're doing. These Cradle Point routers, and thank you to Patrick Byrne, the Overstock billionaire founder, he's the one who found this out, about the location of the plant in China. So our components are being made in our voting systems in China. Here's the proof. That's what they're doing. They switch around the labels, the packaging, slap a name on it, put it on a U.S. ship. It comes into Boise, Idaho, where Cradle Point, well, San Francisco or Seattle. Then it ends up clearing customs in Boise, Idaho, where Cradle Point Router Company is located. Then we tie into why do they do all this deception with a Cradle Point router? It's an endpoint. And I'll submit to you what they're doing is they're accessing to see what the vote counts are at the Cradle Point router. And I'm not just speculating. I'm going to show you this. So here we have now is the Elbert monitoring system. This happens to be Waukesha County. I have dozens of these from different Wisconsin counties, and I know people who have found these in Nebraska, in Georgia, in Pennsylvania. They're pulling this scam across the United States. And the reason why is they want to see what the vote counts are. So when the county, the tabulators transmit in the vote counts, say a little bit after 8 o'clock when the polls close, they can get in the Cradle Point router and they can see what the vote counts are. Pretty critical information if you need to know how many ballots to stuff in to take the win in the election, right? This is a major way how they've been cheating. Elbert sensor. Elbert sensors were sold to monitor cybersecurity and safety. They're run by the federal government through fusion centers. Fusion centers were set up after the 9/11 catastrophe and to so-called protect us. And they share resources between the local government, say police, sheriff, the feds, the FBI, the DEA, etc. We have one, it's down in Madison on the tarmac of the airport, and then in a nondescript building, and then we have another one across the street from the sheriff's department in Milwaukee. It could be the police department. It's across the street from there. Those Elbert sensors are monitoring everything that is going into or out of a county digitally. I submit to you that they can see everything. And I'm talking court pleadings, I'm talking emails of county employees, I'm talking vote counts, they can see it all. And again, I'm not speculating, I'm going to show you what they can all see. If you want to go to the next one. That's Winnebago County, by the way, Elbert sensor. Dane County's Elbert sensor. All under the guise of safety and security, cybersecurity, we're going to protect you. So here's the federal government under Joe Biden and Obama coming in and telling the counties we're going to protect you. And here's Washington County with that gentleman, and I have no beef against this gentleman running for governor. Here's their multi-state agreement where they're also being monitored by the federal government because of cybersecurity concerns, and specifically in elections. The document says that. Now, the new version of the Elbert sensor is a box about this big, it's about this high, and you can Google it and you'll find a picture of it on the internet. They've been switching now to CrowdStrike, Falcon Endpoint Services software. CrowdStrike, the one that took or set up Hillary Clinton's closet servers at her home. That's the same CrowdStrike we're talking about. They're using this to tie into the Cradle Point router. And the way I know that is, in the contract, it mandates that the county, whether you have an Elbit sensor or this software from Falcon, CrowdStrike, it mandates that the county give them all their IP addresses. The counties must turn over all their internet protocol addresses to a private company called CrowdStrike. How good does that make you feel? And I would say almost every single county executive I spoke to about this had no clue whatsoever, because they're coming in either through the county clerk or they're coming in through the county IT director. Many county clerks didn't even know until I told them that these guys would get set up with the IT department of a county who never told the county executives, who never told the county clerk even in some cases. So we have IT guys signing contracts, and because sometimes they say, if you won't pay the money, that's okay, we got a free plan for you, sign here. And it happens. And some pay $42,000 for the Elbert sensor. Other ones say $14,000, $15,000 for the Falcon software. And if you can't afford that, no problem. Sign here and it will give you a free version of the service. But it locks them in, so they have to give them their IP addresses. This was a Verizon, I might have, just to show you here, is that this is a machine-to-machine activity, and I'm getting to the point where the Cradle Point is tied in with the CrowdStrike, and where they're seeing the data in a county. So this had 77 lines on this particular account here, and the way they're doing it is how they get away from, like Robin Voss saying, we're not connected to the internet with the voting machines. This is how. They're taking cellular modem transmissions from the municipality tabulators to the closest Verizon cell phone tower. Then they're collecting them into what they call a zero tunnel system. In the zero tunnel system, it gets onto the internet. Now, they call it a private internet, and you can have a private line that's not exposed to the public internet. But that private line is running on the same system, and the problem is anybody along there has access to it, could have access to it, and the inside job people have access to it, like CrowdStrike, like Albert Sensors, like the fusion centers. They have access to that data that's transferring on those lines. So they'll say, well, we're on a secure cellular VPN, a virtual private network. Yeah, maybe you are. But how are you securing the Cradle Point router that you never even certified in the first place, that's made in China, that you never told us that you didn't certify it? Oh, here's more explains on the zero tunnel system of how they actually do it. It's a 14-page white paper. I'm going to publish this tomorrow, all 14 pages. It explains exactly how they're transmitting our election results from the city municipality tabulators up to the county, and how they can get away with saying, oh, we're not connected to the internet, but they are, right? They're just changing the definition of the internet to something else, and then they say, well, we're not connected to the internet. They're on a private internet where you and I might be thinking a public internet. But it's the same problem. It's computers, it is on the internet infrastructure, and then you still have transmissions that can be intercepted. Now, in this lawsuit I have ongoing against the clerk of Allegheny County, I got so deep into this, is that the ES&S voting company, when I was conducting discovery, as I'm allowed to do, petitioned the court in Omaha, Nebraska to slap a protective order against me. So I have another piece of document that I can frame and hang up on my wall as a little trophy to me. So they are so scared of answering 40 questions. They've answered 30 already. I can't tell you what the answers are, but I can tell you this: they are damning. They are damning. It exposes the ES&S, exactly what I'm saying here. But I can't come and show you right now. The judge is going to hit me with a fine or something because I have a protective order against me right now. So think of that. ES&S Voting System Company is the largest one in the United States. It's the largest one in Wisconsin by maybe 60% or so market share. And why do they have to slap a protective order on me that I can't tell you what their answers were?
Is this like a muzzle order?
A muzzle. They muzzled me. A gag order. That's our public elections, the machines that we use in our public elections.
Can you get in trouble for being here tonight?
No, because I didn't tell you the answers to the questions. I'm still fighting them on the last 10 questions that they don't want to answer. And the court hearing is next week, Tuesday morning, and it's by Zoom, but I'll be appearing in the Omaha, Nebraska court, fighting them to get the other 10 answers. But even if I get them, I can't tell you what they are. How do you like that? And you paid for the voting machines with your tax dollars. Talk about open or not, open, transparent elections. What are they hiding? I know what they're hiding now because I got 30 answers, and they're not good for us citizens, I tell you that. They're cheating is what they're doing, and that's why they're hiding it, and that's why they got slapped an order against me. CrowdStrike. There's CrowdStrike contracts with counties across the state of Wisconsin. CrowdStrike. Evil company. Very evil company. And I'm going to show that also. So here's another purchase order. Eau Claire County, not far from here at all. You can see it again, it's spread across the whole state of Wisconsin. It's not just focused in Milwaukee anymore. Here's Outagamie CrowdStrike. Now this is the critical part. And I'll read it if you can't see it from back there. This is the contract signed with the counties of what they have to provide to the counties. CrowdStrike products are designed to detect, prevent, respond to, and identify intrusions. All right, by collecting and analyzing data. Now get this, including machine event data, executed scripts, code, system files, log files, DLL files, login data, binary files, tasks, resource information, commands, protocol identifiers, URLs, network data, and/or executable code and metadata. Your counties, our counties, have signed over to the devil, and the county executives don't even know it. Ask your county executives. Do they know this is happening in your counties across Wisconsin? It doesn't matter if it's not your particular county, because then they're cheating in the big counties, in Marathon or wherever, La Crosse or Eau Claire. That's going to affect your vote when it gets in the same bucket as a statewide race or a presidential race. So this does affect you if it's in Eau Claire or Outagamie or Waukesha, because your vote's going in the same bucket. That's what they're getting from the counties. And the counties, as I said, I'm repeating, is that they had to turn over all their IP addresses to CrowdStrike. Now, you know what happened to CrowdStrike just a couple days ago? Global outage. You know, Amazon went down, all kinds of platforms, internet, all crashed. This is just a couple days ago. You know why? CrowdStrike got hacked. That's from the lone raccoon, Jeff O'Donnell, brilliant IT guy. They got hacked a couple of days ago. Worldwide systems went down. Airplane systems went down. CrowdStrike. By the way, in CrowdStrike, when Hillary Clinton took her closet servers out, they hid them in a warehouse. The FBI told CrowdStrike, bring us the servers. CrowdStrike told them no. Nothing was ever done. The head of CrowdStrike is this gentleman on the left. It's former FBI. Former FBI under Merrick Garland and Joe Biden. He's still head of CrowdStrike. He's the bad FBI guy. And who buys Cradlepoint router? Monitored by CrowdStrike and monitored by Albert Sensors? Ericsson, a Swedish company. They bought it on November 4th, 2020. I'll submit to you, this is also illegal because there's a referendum passed, it was a 23 or 24, of Article 1, Section 3 of the Wisconsin Constitution, that you can no longer have foreign meddling in there. Now, it was targeted against like the likes of Zuckerberg and the Zuckerbucks money, but it clearly says in there, you're not supposed to have any foreign interference, including foreign companies. Well, Ericsson owns Cradlepoint. Ericsson, first the Cradlepoints are from China. Ericsson is in Sweden. They're a foreign company, I would think. Okay, I'm going to say this one. I want to add one more thing about this Ericsson. This is a little shocking, to be honest with you. The CEO and executives of Ericsson are being sued by 862 Americans as plaintiffs. 286 are Gold Star families. Ericsson in Sweden paid tens of millions of dollars to ISIS in Iraq, who went and then directly tracing this money, killed Americans, mostly military. There's a huge civil lawsuit against Ericsson right now. You can Google it and look it up for yourself. So we got 862 Americans. Several of those are family members, like wives and so forth, where their husbands were killed by ISIS, traced to this money that came from Ericsson in Sweden. There's articles about it, you can find it, the case is still open and pending, the big civil lawsuit against them right now. Tied in with our elections. This is despicable, and any county clerks, you know why they're doing these voting machines? Because it's easy, because they push little computer buttons and they don't have to do the work. If you don't want to run honest, secure elections, if you're an election clerk, quit. Let somebody in there who will do it honestly and check all these things that I'm showing you here tonight. I have another lawsuit. Bart Williams and I, and myself, I alluded to earlier, are suing the City of Milwaukee Election Commission. We sent out a subpoena for records of November 5th, 2024 election central count. What you see up here on the blue line, and it starts about 7:30 a.m., if you can above my finger there you go. That's connected to a private line the City of Milwaukee contracted to the provider called WhiskNet. Now WhiskNet is the same one I found a Dominion tabulator connected to out of Walworth County, Wisconsin. I have the 3-inch tape with the IP addresses on it. It traces to WhiskNet in Madison. This one traces to WhiskNet in Milwaukee. WhiskNet is a private nonprofit. However, they're not certified, they never have been, by the Wisconsin Election Commission to have anything to do with our elections. I'll submit to you here, this shows a usage of how much data is transmitting out of there is 9.7 gigabytes over that time period. This was during the day at Central Count, City of Milwaukee, at the Baird Center. What is the City of Milwaukee elections clerk doing, connecting to a private line, transferring fairly large amounts of data while the election is going on? No one ever certified that. I'm telling you, we're being ripped off, and they'll paint me as a conspiracy theorist. I got this document. It's a legal contract, in fact. It's a signed contract with the Baird Center with WhiskNet for 3 days, November 4th, 5th, and 6th of 2024. So they specifically came in for those 3 days, day before, day after the election. And here they're connecting to the internet. We have the IP addresses. They're on there somewhere. And then I have the IP addresses. And they're transmitting while the election is going on. Now the transmission goes, there's another page, there's a couple pages. It shows that the transmissions were continued on to about roughly 3 o'clock in the morning on November 6th. Well, I had people there, some paid people, some volunteers. I had 2 attorneys there. I had some undercover people there. They were transmitting up until they were done feeding in the ballots. Now, why would that be? Surprise, surprise, right? It's disgusting, the cheating and the lying that's going on, especially from the Wisconsin Election Commission, but I hold the election clerks accountable too, because they keep turning a blind eye to what's really happening. And the county supervisors should take note. You should ask them to investigate why are they signing these contracts with Swedish companies, with Chinese suppliers. It has to stop. There's where I trace the IP address during the election day, City of Milwaukee, Central Count. That's the IP address. It starts with 205 up above, and you can see where I trace it to. It goes to WhiskNet. WhiskNet has never been certified by the Wisconsin Election Commission. Why their name even comes up, it shouldn't. Now, I wanted to leave you with this. Here's Dominion Voting invoice to Racine County, Wisconsin, selling them a WatchGuard firebox. That's a firewall. It's a box. It's just with computer chips in it and so forth. And from Dominion. I thought we don't connect to the internet, Speaker Robin Voss. Why would you need a firewall in Racine County sold to you by Dominion Voting Company? If that doesn't, in one document, show that our elections are not safe and secure, there it is, right there. And then the gall of the 6 commissioners and their staff, like Megan Wolf, and politicians, constantly lying to us and denying that there is an election fraud. And the worst is, this is happening across the country. It's not just Wisconsin. Number one I would investigate is the voting machines. It is clear from evidence, and I'm telling you again, I published this, President Donald Trump has it all in a SCIF, S-C-I-F, a secure facility in Northern Virginia. He's got it all. And Venezuela was flipping votes. Now, they aren't doing it everywhere. That's what everybody, gets off mark. They only need to do it in a few jurisdictions to take the win. And the number one way they were doing it, they were throwing out, say, 10% of President Trump votes and then replacing them with Biden votes. Voting machines would be number one. The second one would be mail-in absentee ballots. And I'll add a third is the voting registration list. That's the gateway to election fraud, is the voter registration list. Anybody else?
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Thank you so much for tonight. I really appreciate the time and hope you see what's really going on.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.